am an employability faculty lead. I'll explain a little bit more about our roles in a second. I face health, life sciences, and also a couple of subjects in ESE as well. I'm joined by 3 of my colleagues who are also faculty leads. There's 6 of us altogether who work for SEAS, that's Student Employability and Academic Success. And we're going to talk to you about a great project which we have been running now for, gosh, some time. I know I've certainly been running for around, I think, since 2015, this particular project. And it's really, really positive. So we wanted to sort of talk to you about it and tell you how it's growing and how we manage it individually. Mel, do you want to move the slide over? Okay, so that's all of us. Joined on the call today by Kate. Kate, do you want to say a quick hi and what do you do?
Hi, everyone. So yeah, the subjects I face as faculty lead are engineering, mathematics, computer science, physics, natural sciences. And when I say engineering, I also mean engineering as in renewable energy down in Penryn. So those are my subjects. Yeah, I'm sure that's all I really need to talk about, really.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Next on the grid, we have Tez. Tez is actually our SEAS Cornwall manager. So she pretty much manages the team, the SEAS team down in Cornwall and all the daily operations, etc., etc. But she also faces a couple of subjects, which is Earth and Environmental Science, so CJES, and Maths and CSM down in Penryn. She only has like a 0.1 of her contract to do the faculty lead role, but she's definitely a very integral part of our little team. Mel, say.
Yeah, hi, I'm Melanie. I'm the SEAS faculty lead that looks after the business school. So that's all departments: economics, accounting and finance, business and management, and that also includes the Sustainable Futures department in Penryn. So that's me.
Okay, obviously next on the slide is me. Just to give you an idea of what the faculty lead role basically is so there are within SEA, Student Employability Academic Success, obviously we have the career zone. A lot of our work is central services. So we have a lot of skill sessions, we have one-to-one guidance, we have events, we have a whole host of different things that students can access through us. But our role as faculty lead is to face particular departments, to kind of be the interface between SEAS and the faculty, or more real every day as departments. Because there are lots of different modules that we need to manage. So the placement modules, there's new programs come on board and we need to introduce placements into that. We run very specific employer events and alumni events for the departments. We run different projects. We all manage quite a large budget. So we all have various different kind of nuances to our role depending on what the department needs. So that's kind of how we're split up. And the reason that I'm in 2 faculties is because of the fact that we went into faculties from colleges, and before that I was Claire's. And obviously Claire's was divorced and I ended up still keeping ecology and conservation in Penryn and also geography here, because they're 2 very large departments. Laura?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Laura Ibarra-Glover. I am the faculty lead facing what used to be HUMS, so now the HUMS and Arts subjects, as well as flexible combined honours. So you see a list of the kind of subjects that I cover on the slide. But yeah, I cover Streatham and Penryn humanities. Yeah.
Brilliant. And then last but very not least, we have Jenny Clark, who's obviously not with us today. And Jenny does the remainder of those subjects, which you can see there, and not least the law school, which pretty much takes up the majority of Jenny's time while she's doing this particular role. It was what we wanted to do, if it's okay with everybody, is just to find out who's here, as we don't have a massive group. I wondered if it would be all right if everybody would just like to introduce themselves and let us know who you are, and also what if you would like to get anything particular out of this subject, out of this topic today. Let me see who's here. I don't know who wants to start. Jenny, do you want to start? Oh no, somebody in the waiting room, sorry. Someone called CD, who's that? Okay.
We could always do it through the
move
chat,
on.
couldn't we, if people don't
Yeah,
want to, unmute and
Yeah,
they're eating.
that's
I think
fine.
people are eating their lunch, some people.
That's fair enough. Fiona, actually, I know Fiona's on the call. Fiona, can you hear me? Would you like to introduce yourself as you work 4Cs?
Yeah, I was just typing something into the chat. I don't know if you can see me now. Yes, well, welcome everybody. I'm Fiona Hartley, so I'm a careers and employability consultant. So work alongside our colleagues here. I'm really interested in today's session. Just for information, really, just understanding more student experience from that additional experiential learning. So yeah, that's me. And I'm sitting in a very awkward position that's glaring sun on my screen. So I'll turn my camera back.
So to give you a bit of background, so Fiona works alongside of me for medical sciences and neuroscience in the clinical and biomedical subjects, which is great. So Fiona does lots of activities and lots of one-to-one sessions and group sessions for those students in particular. Brilliant. I can see Heather's put something in the chat, also looking also for an intern and to refer to a family member for them to contact you also. Brilliant. Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll just get started then. If you can just introduce yourself in the chat, that would be great, just so we know. You're on mute, love.
Okay, brilliant. So I'll kick off, just with explaining what an RSI even is. So if we move on to the next slide with a job. So RSI stands for Research Support Internship. Now, these are sort of internships that we are funded through faculties, through departments, in order to enable students to get insight into research, into what life day-to-day for researchers like, and whether research is a career path that's feasible. Equally, it gives academics a chance to engage students, to get a bit of help with active research that's ongoing. So it builds that community element as well as supporting employability objectives there. It's open to undergraduate and postgraduate students. It's very much aimed as an entry route opportunity for those types of students. So PGR students have previously applied, some have gotten it, but PGT and PG and UG students get preference always. Any level of study and any campus opportunities can be remote, hybrid, and in person, and there's a good amount of on offer on both campuses. So hopefully every student has a good opportunity there. The internships themselves are usually between sort of 2 to 4 weeks long. They can be lab or desk based. They can be spread out over the whole spread of those 4 weeks, or they can be quite intensive, 1, 2, 3 weeks of internships as well, depending on what the academic that's hiring needs and where the work is at. You get support as an academic from ourselves, the faculty leads, but also the internships team that we work with quite closely with. So there's kind of a set process that's followed, is quite well managed, and hopefully that makes it a lot easier for the academics that are hiring. If we move on over to the next slide, I could just talk a little bit more about the process. Broadly speaking, so it does vary from from faculty to faculty, but broadly speaking, the first step is just arranging the funding and agreeing what the funding for the year ahead will be. That funding can come from the employability faculty budget, it can come from the education discretionary budget, from the APVC, so it just depends, but usually there's a solid amount of money in there. We can fund sort of 20 to 30 projects sort of within a year. And once that's agreed, then a call out goes out to academics. Sometimes that goes directly to all academics in the faculty. Sometimes it's managed through the DZs, but there's some sort of email call out to invite academics to put through proposals for projects. Those get selected. And once the projects that are funded have been agreed, then there's a process through which the vacancy gets put up on Handshake, which is the career management platform that we use as a service, and that all students have to sign up to. So you get loads of exposure. The internships team look after all the admin, they do the promotion, making sure that students are applying to these posts as well. And then they obviously move on and give you the applications if you are one of the hiring managers. Advertising is usually 2 to 3 weeks, runs around that March time, and it's then up to the hiring academics to shortlist, interview, and select the right person for obvious reasons. There is support here from Cs again, but it's led by yourselves. And then finally, the internships can begin anytime between April and June and have to conclude by financial year end, which is the very end of July. So there's a good spread of time there to kind of make the most of that intense time.
Right, so I'm going to take over just to mention the training that we have put on for our new interns this year. So this is something that we are piloting for the first time this year. The sessions have gone really well, so it looks like it's going to be something that we will repeat every year. So this training is provided by colleagues in the study zone for our hired interns. They are an hour-long virtual session that all recruited interns are invited to. The session is recorded and the link to that is circulated as well as the slides to all of the recruited interns. It's important to say about the topics that we do cover in that training, just to give you a bit of a feel of what it's about. So we are there mainly to prepare the students for the research internship. It's different than going to work with a company, so we need to make sure that they understand the sort of the nuances with working with academics as opposed to working in industry with employers. We also aim to help to distinguish between studying and research, because obviously they do a level of research within their degree programs, but it's very different to work within a research group or with an academic. We try to help them to understand the difference between primary and secondary research. We like to help identify and develop the employability skills during the internship. So the things that were coming out of the training were students understanding the communication skills they were building up, the research skills, obviously, that they are building up as well, but it's also teamwork skills, all the things that are integral with employability. We try to help tease out so that they can put this into their CVs for future job applications as to what they have acquired from doing these internships. And something that's also quite important is how to negotiate with academics. Obviously, they know these academics through working with them on their programs, but actually working with them on a joint research project, you need to understand how to speak to your academics or to your research groups about the timelines for what they need doing, balancing if they're still studying. So some of them, like Laura said, might start in April, May. So they've obviously got coursework to do, they've got exams to prepare for. So if they're doing a research internship on top of that, they need to know how to negotiate the timeline of the project with the academic. So it's very important that we put that across as well. So the training, usually we do at the beginning of June, and then it's repeated a few weeks later to sort of mop up the interns that are hired a few weeks after that. So we get as many of them as possible attending the training, not only just to speak to us about any of the issues that they're concerned about before they start, or anything that's arisen while they have started. Yeah. Future plans. So obviously, like I said, this was the pilot of this training this year, and it's gone so well that we will repeat every year from now on. Future plans, we would like to create support sessions for the supervising academics as well. It's important for them to understand what they can expect from our students, so that they're not expecting too much. So the plan is to create a support session for those academics as well. And then hopefully, once we have a good lot of past students, alumni from the research internship schemes, I guess, we can do some case studies and case studies of the interns and their supervisors for promotion purposes, to try and get the word out there about this amazing opportunity for students and for academics. So those are some of our future plans. So yeah, I don't think it's me next. I'm gonna mute. Nope, not me.
It's me. Yes, Kate's already touched on some of this, but obviously the main purpose of the presentation today was for EduExe and to talk about future positive skills. So in this for this presentation, and RSI's future positive employability skills. As a career zone, we obviously look into research as to what we think skills students are going to need when they join the workplace. We know for a fact that having an internship in any form is going to be very, very useful and help students to stand out when they're applying for grad roles. I wanted to just look at a few sources today, just to sort of think through some of the skills that students can develop on an RSI, and Kate has already touched on some of these. So I had to look at the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report. There hasn't been one released for this year, so from 2023. Something that really comes through really strongly in a lot of this research is that employers are not expecting students to have all the technical skills they need to do the job, or to be, an expert in what they're doing, but they do expect students to be adaptable, be workplace ready, and to be able to adapt and evolve with a very, very fast changing workplace with all the digital technologies that are coming in and so on. So it's not about being an expert, but it's about being to sort of adapt to that new workplace. So I do feel, well, we feel that RSIs are really capable of giving students that experience and a real head start for joining the workforce. In particular, if looking at some of these skills, so analytical thinking, this is obviously clearly quite a big part of doing a research focused role. It was very clear in the report that there's a strong desire for non-automated reasoning and decision making is a real strong factor that employers are looking for. So all these kind of human and soft skills that are also evident in a lot of the other top 10 skills that can't be performed by AI and some of the technology. So knowing how to use AI, but obviously adding that human touch is really, really important. And just like Kate mentioned, just doing an internship in general is giving students lots of broader employability skills like team working, working with managers, balancing workload and so on. So these are all going to be something a student can develop during an RSI. There's a little statistic there about businesses predict that 44% of workers' core skills will be disrupted because technology is moving faster. So again, it's just about students being able to adapt to the workplace, which RSIs give them a great opportunity to sort of test out new skills and skill themselves up as much as possible to impress employers when they're applying for jobs. Just to say a little more on that, another report that we look at as the career zone is the Institute of Student Employers. So their recent student development survey, where they spoke to graduate employers about students' attributes and behaviours, workplace skills, and technical and analytical skills. Again, it's very clear that university graduates do have a lot of employers have a lot of confidence in graduates, particularly their attributes and behaviours and their workplace skills. But as in terms of technical and analytical skills, they're not expecting them to be experts. For example, you can see from this, these little clips that I've put in, employers are not expecting graduates to be experts at coding and programming, for example, but obviously they are sort of expecting their applicants and grads to be to have the analytical thinking and the digital skills that they can develop and apply once they're in the role. They're hired for their potential and ability to build skills. So RSIs are just a really good testing ground for all of this, particularly in a research-focused environment or otherwise. And again, as I mentioned before, having an internship is highly valued by employers. So we really, really strongly feel that these RSIs are a real excellent opportunity for the faculties to invest in providing work experience for students that's going to make them more employable when they graduate. I'm going to move over to Kate, I think. Oh, no. Who's next? Yes, Kate.
Yes, it's
talk
me,
about
yeah.
some example projects.
Yep. So we thought it might just be really useful, especially if there was academics on the call who wanted to potentially hire students for helping with their projects. Just to give a bit of an overview of some of the projects that we have had this year. Obviously, this is just job titles. So I apologize if I don't know the nitty-gritty about what actually was going on, but they sound pretty cool. So it's nice to sort of highlight those. So one that we had at the business school is a research intern looking into the effects of access to and accessibility of Black role models in HE for Black youth in Exeter. One of the ones in computer science was a privacy analytics research intern. Data science in Penryn, we've had a green digital Exeter intern. In ecology and conservation, we've had ocean plankton analyst and an underwater videos intern, which sounds pretty cool. I think I would have done that one, to be honest. Engineering down in renewables in Penryn, there's been a tidal stream energy research intern. And also up here in Streatham, we've had a cooperative robotics and autonomous networks research intern. Geography, leaf photosynthesis research intern. They think they like to make the titles as difficult to say out loud as possible. Natural sciences, chiral molecules in food research intern. Natural sciences is such a broad subject that it's really exciting the things that they can do there. And in physics, you've had experimental optics research intern and metamaterials and quantum technologies research intern. So those ones sound way above what I could possibly think would be possible. So yeah, very, very broad and also very specific to certain research groups. So some of the roles can be quite broad as in the disciplines, but then there's very specific ones that are just for certain research groups. So a lot of the applications will have gone in for these. I know it for the physics ones, I think they all had over 10 applications from students. So it's really, really exciting. So yeah, I'm excited to see what our students have got out of those specific projects. I think I'm going to hand over to Laura now.
Yeah, I'll just cover off the top couple of points. So just to spread, sort of picked out a couple of examples across HAS. So in drama this year, we hired an intern to work with an industry partner in the Exeter City Centre. So academics who have links with industry, they can also put in these bids as a joint sort of joint team. And then it's quite exciting for the students because they get to work both within the research group, but also within sort of the industry itself. So in this case, a student got to go and look through and sift through the collections, make sense of it, create some narratives and curate an exhibition in Exeter City Centre. English, we had a student who did some editing, so got to really delve into the research and then develop that content for the public audience on the website. Modern languages and cultures, we had a student who supported Pepper's Viewers, a project that looks at the significance of women's voices in the 20th century, some oral history, written history, put it on the web. The student got to actually go up to a conference that was relevant as well, because the research team managed to find some funding for the travel expenses. So that was really a really great opportunity there. The law one that we funded this year is a student supporting the team looking at the post office scandal. Don't think I've got to say any more about that one. So again, really interesting for students to get involved in. History, student that went to the RAM Museum in Exeter City Centre to help with the museum's collection, and a different student worked on section 28, collecting some oral history interviews, sort of all around LGBTQ concerns in the UK related to section 28. Decolonial dialogues through politics. Hidden Cities is an app. So this was a really digital project that a student got to get involved in with art, history, visual culture. And in archaeology, we had a student who's joined the zoo archaeology lab. So got to set up kind of a whole new kit, got to write some training materials and all that kind of stuff. So a real spread of different activities. And again, that's not all of it, but just a little sample.
Just from my subject's point of view, so biosciences, we've had a number, and I get requests even outside of the project scope to run various different interns, but we've had a mechanics of biological shape generation intern, we've had entomology intern, a social behaviour of rabbits intern, and a plankton analyst intern. So very diverse, different ones there. Psychology, just recently we've run an adolescent transitions to plant-based diets intern, and public health and sports sciences, we did a sports injury risk research intern. So yeah, various different subjects there. Kate?
Yes, so with part of the training that we ran, I took the opportunity to ask the recruited interns that were on the call, why did they apply for their internship? Obviously, we know that they saw the advert, they applied with more than 10 other people, and they were successful in the role. But what I didn't know as to why they applied for it. What did they want to get out of it? So I asked them and I took some of these quotes. So I don't want to sit here and bore you all and read them all out, but some of the main ones that I thought were quite interesting. To bridge the gap between our academic knowledge and practical experience. So this student has clearly wanted to look outside of being a student and to see what he could do in what they could do in practice with their internship. I really wanted to gain some research experience and integrate more with my department. I think with my subjects, there's definitely a sense of wanting to build a community, which hasn't really been present, I would say, over the last few years. So the fact that that student wants to integrate more with the department is showing that there is a building sense of community within the disciplines, which I'm really, really happy about. Someone here said to gain experience for further study. So the way that I promote this to students is to say, you know, if you're potentially wanting to move on and do a PhD or anything like that, this is a fantastic opportunity to actually see what it might be like, and to work with fellow PhD students and fellow researchers to see what it might be like after graduation. So what we say with any students who want to do any kind of internship is it's a try before you buy, and it's so important to do these different things. So why not just do 4 weeks of a paid internship with an academic to see, do you know what, this isn't for me, or this is for me, I really enjoyed that. So it's so important to understand the differences and what it is that what sparks within them and what it is that they might want to do. So that's all I'm going to sort of bring out of there, because there are so many here. But yeah, if you're looking at this now while I've been talking, fantastic. That's what I wanted you to do.
Okay, so we've had some responses back from the academic views. 3 of these on here are from my department and have been fairly recent academic views that I've got collected in the last few weeks. So from on the left there, that's Professor Daniel Mayer. Daniel took on 2 students, 2 of which I'm going to do a case study on shortly. They were both employed as ocean plankton analysts in the Hatherley labs. Dan pretty much can't get enough of these 2 particular students who worked with him. I think he struck gold. So he said, obviously exceeded our expectations. They were fantastic. One went on to study a PhD position in Oxford, and the other is now working for the organisation as a lab technician. So I'll talk a little bit more about Josephine in a second. Dr. Sophie Nedlick, she recruited a coral reef conservation. There was an awful lot of applicants for that particular role. It was very popular. This was 22-23. Sophie said that it was a really great experience working with 2 interns, one on sustainability and one on coral reefs and soundscapes. So much energy and drive, and achieved a lot in the time we spent working together. And they're both going on to being employed in relevant jobs after the internship again, which is fantastic. And then the other one from my department is Rob Ellis. Rob's I think he's had an intern every single year since I've been here, which is the last 6 years. So he's pretty keen. And then he asks me for more in the summer, and I have to let him down and tell him there's no money left. But Rob has recently had an aquatics physiology scientific intern, which was working across UK and worldwide, leading aquaculture sectors. lobster, shrimp and mussel aquaculture. So again, really specific, but as he's put there, he had a number of interns and each time they've been really beneficial. Also provides our PGR students as well with opportunity to develop mentorship and leaderships by being the contact person. So yeah, really, really positive experience again from Dr. Rob Ellis there. Laura, do you want to just mention about your one there?
Yeah, sure. I'll talk about Ina's feedback. I mean, just to pick out a couple of key sort of phrases, you know, she sort of highlights how it provided the intern with an opportunity to understand how large-scale interdisciplinary research works. You know, the student got involved in their interdisciplinary local extra group, but they were embedded within a sort of international research community, and the student got to get quite involved in the setup of Exeter within that context. But then she also highlights how they learned from the intern and how much they gained from that internship in terms of not just sort of having that community feel, but also some of the hard outputs, some useful kind of future proofing from their perspective. So yeah, really pleased to see that both sides had a really good experience with this. And Ina has since applied for research interns both within the scheme, but also lobbied for funding elsewhere and used that to get the students involved because it was such a positive experience having students engaged in their work. So yeah, big fan of the scheme.
Okay, so just following on from the Dan Mayer's a case study, which was he had Josephine and Sophie working for him. Josephine was a BSc Marine Biology student with professional placement, so she was from Penryn. So she came up specifically to Streatham campus to work as a plankton analyst intern. Really great result for Josephine here, really. So she said she provided a valuable experience in a professional research setting. It was inspiring and motivating to know that my work in the lab would contribute to a first of its kind data set. She works alongside a vibrant and passionate research group, allowing her to gain valuable insight into the field of ocean plankton and explore future careers opportunities in marine research. Straight after the internship that she did, Sophie was employed as a TSA for a few months within the department. She participated on a 3-week research expedition to the Northwest Atlantic on board RRS Discovery, collecting samples as part of what she'd done previously before. She'd never been to sea, so it was really quite an experience for her. Quite a daunting experience, but also a very interesting experience, apparently. She then participated in Dan's 3rd year module. She came in and did a lecture for him talking about her experiences on the internship. And now she works full-time as a lab technician, actually working on an 18-month contract running the FlowCam laboratory alongside of Dan too. So just showing really how these interns can be absolutely fantastic and provide students with a real, future, a real positive future. Just move it on for me, please, Mel. There's a picture of Josephine and Sophie there working as plankton analyst interns. Sophie actually was also offered since the internship 3 PhD positions and has accepted one at Oxford University, which is pretty fantastic. That's my case study. Laura?
Yeah, amazing stuff. I'm just going to talk to you quickly about Hannah, who studied politics and Spanish here at Exeter. She got involved as an intern in some research around fake news and misinformation online, specifically on social media platforms. And sort of what she had to say about it was that it was an invaluable experience that really furthered the development of her research skills, but also kind of gave her an insight into potential different career paths, highlights that sort of mentorship from her supervisor and how valuable that was. So again, that sort of closer relationship can be really valuable for the interns. Furthermore, the experience was a helpful addition to my CV that I'm confident has helped me secure an offer for a master's course at another prestigious Russell Group university. So she's actually studying the MSc Global Governance and Ethics at UCL now. So really great result, and really nice that she kind of elevates the internship out as a key factor. So I'll throw back to what Mel was saying earlier about that internship really helping sort of get into further study. And here's just a little output from the work that she contributed to. So it made the press. saying, yeah, short corrective statements can help social media users spot false information. So it's a really extensive study. 7,000 people internationally were surveyed. Hannah came in at the stage where the survey had been designed, connection was ongoing, but she could kind of help that, was involved in the connection, the analysis and the write-up process. So got to see quite a lot of different elements of research and involved in a lot of things that really look good on the CV. Funny enough, that study also showed that the opposite effect can happen. So corrective statements on true news can undermine the true message. So really interesting, and some further work in there that I think Hannah's all voluntarily kind of dipping in and out of, judging by LinkedIn. Cool, and that's it from us. But if you've got any questions, you can pop them in the chat. You can take yourself off cam, you can go off mute, whatever you think is you're most comfortable with.